My name is Joshua, and I am the Tribune. Today we're going to talk about intentional poverty. This is something that God uses as a strategy for His chosen people to flourish. Now, before we get into this, we have to talk about really quick how people who are not wealthy and are Christians, and maybe they're not supposed to be wealthy, these are not the people we're talking about, okay? Because they might not need this. I'm talking to builders who know they are supposed to have a certain amount of wealth, not just to live in a palace, which is fine. You can do that because our God is opulent. And anybody who doesn't agree with that, foolish. They don't know God. But I'm talking to builders who actually know they are going to need huge finances to build with God, but you find yourself in poverty financially. This is a brilliant strategy of God to keep you in poverty until His time comes where He releases you from that poverty. His intention for your poverty is simply to limit the distractions in your life so that you can only focus on Him and prepare His wonders in private. It's also to protect you from people. Relationships that you really shouldn't have that would actually not only destroy you, but destroy your purpose. And actually slow your preparation down. Maybe stop it altogether. So what God does a lot of the times when He has somebody really special He's working with is He will order poverty intentionally. He will order it. Then He will cut off every single thing that's fluff that you want to keep in your life. Certain friends will leave you because you don't have as much money as they think you should have. Maybe it's a little less than them, or who knows. But people won't have anything to do with you, and that's a blessing. Because now you can really focus, and you won't have any other distractions. You won't have their influence on your work. They won't even know what you're doing because they ran away and did something else. So another reason is because if you had more money, you would actually have more power to do what you want to do, and which it would take away time from God. And He knows that He's trying to give you something, and many, not just something, many things, much treasure, that is so wonderful that you would happily be impoverished for 20 years for this. Happily. And when you come out, you won't even look like you even went through it. So I want to encourage people who are going through this, or who are about to go through it, because God does do this, and He is looking for friends, and He will order some things. So be encouraged if you find yourself impoverished and you know God is working with you. You will actually be building God's wonders, not your own wonders, because that stuff is really nothing. God's wonders that are way beyond even the wealthiest person you can even think of. If you handed them these plans, they wouldn't know what to do with them. Someone with the most power and all the money in the world actually couldn't do anything with God's plans. They would be dumbfounded. I don't care who they are. You name somebody, it wouldn't matter. But this is what God's trying to give you through this process. Now, how do you know you're one of these people? I am not talking to people who are just impoverished for no reason, and you're not building anything with God, and you're just impoverished. I don't know what to say to you. That's not even what I'm talking about. I am only talking to a group of people who He's ordered poverty. How do you know? Is you need to look at what you're preparing. You need to be able to look at this thing that God's preparing with you, and know that if you were to show the highest person in your industry, what you're preparing with God, they would think you're absolutely insane. Now, if you can't do that, you are not working with God like this. I don't care what you think, you are not doing it. Maybe you're working on some nice project. But if it doesn't dumbfound the highest level person in your industry, then you need to go back to God and talk about that. And this is how you know. And for the people who just don't want to sit still when God is trying to ground them and keep them in intentional poverty for their own greater good. And these people, for the people who just want to just keep jet setting and going, doing this and going out doing this, I want to go here, I want to go there, I'm just going to keep going. If God's trying to talk to you and you're not, and you are so stubborn and don't want to sit your butt down and stay still with God, He will overstep. He will move you aside. This is the era. He's not playing around anymore. He will take you and say, okay, I'm going to let you go do that. You go have some fun, and I'm going to go talk to such and such about your plans, and I now have demoted you. Oh, maybe you're a Christian. Okay? Going to go to heaven? God loves you, but He will strip you of your power and give it to somebody else who's willing to sit in poverty on purpose, because what they're preparing is so valuable that it doesn't matter. Because they know when God actually brings forward this thing and actually manifests this thing that they've been preparing with Him, poverty won't even be, to say it won't be an issue is a total understatement. That's even ridiculous to even say that. When God brings you out with these plans, people will not be able to even believe that you were ever in poverty. They'll think you're totally lying. They'll think you made up a testimony to make yourself look good. I actually argue that when you come out with these plans, people won't even believe you're working with God because they're not used to seeing Him like this. They're used to seeing some depiction of Him that's just so weak and just wearing rags, and we have cliche songs that don't touch anybody but the cliche Christians, movies that this is they won't even believe it. They won't believe you're working with Him. But then they will believe it because it'll just be too unbelievable. It'll be impossible. I need to tell you one more thing. With the plans I'm talking about, that God's looking for people to prepare these things and actually manifest them with Him for these plans, if you can just go and do these plans by yourself in your own power, they are not the plans I'm talking about, and you need to go back to God because you're very confused. And Satan has tricked you. And maybe you've tricked yourself. Your plans really shouldn't be able to be accomplished without some exterior move of God that is out of all human control. Not because you're so weak you can't do it. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you're very powerful to do it. You can do a lot of things. But the things you're doing with Him are so powerful that they need supernatural power on the backside even to prepare the way for you to come. This is why God puts you in poverty. Because it takes that kind of drastic, extreme measure to prepare what I'm talking about and what He wants to prepare with you. So for those people who are in poverty, intentional poverty, and they know it, because you know it. You know it. If you're wondering, am I or not? No, I'm not. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to people who know it. For those people, be encouraged. You need to be obedient. You need to seek God as a friend. You need to know Him as a coverer. You need to accept your covering humbly, in power. Use it to your advantage with Him. Become His friend. Listen to Him. Shut your mouth. Stop talking. Stop blabbing. Stop moving. Stop doing everything. Sit with the God of the universe. Prepare your stuff, and it will be done, and you will be a part of this new era that's coming. But always remember, if you're not encouraged and you're not going to do this, and He's trying to find you for this, He will overstep you and go to somebody else. Don't forget that. Never get so arrogant where you think that you just have all the time in the world. You're just going to wait and do whatever you want, waste time and do nothing. Just waste time. And He's just going to wait for you. He's not going to wait for you. He will move on. Don't forget this, because it will save your purpose. This is the reason for intentional poverty. It's the best blessing ever. Receive it. It's very valuable. Hail Jehovah.